they've tailored each show to fit the character's needs.
It's about loving yourself and coming to terms with who you are as well.
Yeah.
And I really think they explored that quite nicely.
But one thing I can appreciate is that they are all very different. And I like that. I like how sometimes you can watch other superhero shows that were maybe like not even live action, could have been cartoon, whatever. And they're all very similar. Doesn't matter what the superhero is. Yeah. Whereas with this, you've got Loki, which is so different to Winter Soldier. And that was so different to WandaVision. And I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate how they've tailored each show to fit the character's needs. And that's what you want to see, but also what you can struggle to get, especially in a superhero show. So that's one thing.
They're all. You also see genres. A lot of like, exactly, and also deal with different human emotions and things like that. It's like WandaVision's dealing with grief. Captain America. Oh, fucking hell, keep doing that. I'm calling it Captain America and Winter Soldier because that's what it is, really.
Yeah.
That show deals with like past traumas and like racism. It has a lot of social issues in it. And this is dealing with fighting with oneself.
Yeah.
This show, especially with Loki, like it's all about Loki
and growth.
Something I can, and kind of understanding who you are and being able to kind of change who you are as well.
I like
just growing into who you are.
There's a funny quote through an interview with Tom Hiddleston where they're talking to him and they're saying, "Will you find a love interest?" Right? And it was kind of like a double sword that he kind of put across in his answer. It was like, well, in order to love, you have to first love yourself, right?
Yeah.
So like people like, it's funny because he let us know that he loved like a variant, like a different.
Oh, we're gonna go into spoilers now, are we?
Well, no. Whoops, spoiler.
There you go.
But
thanks,
like.
Jesse. He's always doing
that. But then also throughout the show, take out the love interest. He also does have to learn to actually love himself and find
exactly. And
so it was a double meaning behind what he said, and I really appreciate that. And I think that sums up the show completely in one line. Is that he does? It's all about finding yourself and understanding yourself before you can, I guess, do anything else really.
And I also think the context of the character is quite important in this show, in going into the show anyway. Like, understanding that this Loki is not the Loki we know at the end that died in Infinity War. This is the Loki from 2012. So he hasn't gone through all that character development from the Dark World and all the other stuff he's been in. You know what I mean? And Ragnarok especially hasn't gone through that.
And I think that's what I like about this show is because it's gone back in time to that to those few months there. It's like it allows us to see more of that character growth of Loki because you see it through the movies, but it also feels like a bit of a jump in character growth. It's not so much a gradual increase. It does feel a little more like jumps here and here. Whereas I guess through the show, it's showing you why it looked like a jump and it was a gradual increase, but it shows you that time frame, which is what I really appreciate about it. And also, going back to the quote, I was thinking it's a huge credit to Tom Hiddleston because I think he's the perfect person for this character. He completely understands him. And that's what I really like to see as well in the show is that him as an actor really understands his character. And for him to sum up the character's growth in the show in just one line lets us know he really does know him. And he did say he would play Loki the rest of his life if he could.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that wouldn't be such a bad thing. Though he would be great. He's really good, and he's really good in the role. It was just good to see. Like it was good to go back to a Loki that we hadn't seen for a while.
Yeah,
because essentially he's still evil. You know what I mean? Like he's still got that kind of anti-hero kind of thing about him. Well, he hasn't become that yet, anyway. And then he it was good to watch him go like through more of a intense looking character development. Like you said, we got to see a bit more of him. It wasn't much of a jump. We got to see everything that happens because he does do all the typical Loki stuff in the show. Like at that time frame, he's betraying people, and he does that throughout the show.
And then he grows into
exactly, and he grows into the character that we kind of see him at the end of Ragnarok.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So it was always destined for him to be like that. But I do love the fact that you said that loving yourself quote, like that's totally what the show's about. It's about loving yourself and coming to terms with who you are as well, and why you do the things you do, and if you're able to change doing the things you do. And I really think they explored that quite nicely, especially with, well, let's go into a bit of a spoiler territory now. I reckon it's probably the best part. Especially going into the so we'll give someone like 5 minutes or 5 seconds.
I need 5 minutes to turn it off. So
no, 5 seconds.
If you don't want it spoiled, end the episode now. Thank you for listening. Watch the show.
Exactly.
Keep listening. We're going.
Come back to this time.
3, 2, 1, boom.
Boom. And so the whole idea of loving yourself comes into the in the form of the variant that they're chasing, which turns out to be a female version of Loki. That's going throughout these timelines and is just trying to escape the TVA and trying to find out who these so-called timekeepers are, because the timekeepers are apparently this race of these 3 beings that are in charge of looking after the sacred timeline, which is keeping the flow of time working and things like that. It turns out to be this character called Sylvie, but she's actually a female Loki. And they actually end up having like a romance, which is pretty much glorified masturbation. It's pretty fucked up. And I don't know if I was feeling if it was fucked up or if it wasn't. Do you think that was kind of fucked up or not really?
Not like it is when you think of it as she is him, just in a different time frame, whatever time frame, in a different realm.
Universe.
In a universe, right? In a different universe. So it's himself, but also it is someone else. It's not really incest. It is someone else from a different universe.
It is him though. It's a version of him.
Yeah.
And it's also a version of her.
Exactly. But I think it also sums up the character, because he's such a fucking narcissist that he's not
who could love him other than himself.
Exactly. Exactly.
Which I really liked a lot.
And who would he love other than himself?
Yeah.